I would rather cry in a private jet than laugh in a keke.
That was Adewunmi's favorite sentence. She said it everywhere, at parties, at restaurants, at weddings, and especially when a man who clearly had no money tried to approach her. Wunmi was beautiful, stylish, and painfully obsessed with appearances. She believed poverty was something a person should run from with both legs. Her wigs were always expensive. Her dresses were imported. Her handbags carried designer labels. Even the perfumes she wore could probably feed a struggling family for several months. One afternoon, her friend Shade stared at her new handbag and shook her head.
Wunmi, how much did you buy this bag?
Wunmi smiled proudly. Don't worry about the price, just admire it.
I am admiring it. I'm also wondering if it has a small house inside.
Wunmi laughed. Please.
Please.
If you aren't talking money, you are saying nonsense. Shade rolled her eyes. You're going to marry one day, oh? Of course. And what if the man isn't rich? Wunmi looked genuinely offended.
Then he isn't my husband.
He isn't my husband. She picked up her phone and checked her reflection on the screen.
I've suffered enough in this life. My husband must have money.
Well, unfortunately, Wunmi wasn't joking. She had grown up watching her mother struggle to put food on the table. She remembered borrowing clothes from neighbors. She remembered sleeping hungry while pretending she wasn't. Those memories had planted something deep inside her. A fear of poverty, a hunger for luxury, and eventually something far stranger. Because Wunmi had a secret. No matter how much food she ate, she could never feel completely satisfied. Not unless she begged someone for food. She had discovered it years earlier by accident. When she was 16, she had gone to a roadside food seller. After spending her entire day without eating, she had no money. Please, auntie, she had whispered. Can you give me just one spoon of rice? The woman had looked at her and laughed. One spoon? Wunmi nodded. Please. The woman handed her a spoonful. Wunmi ate it. And suddenly, something strange happened. The terrible emptiness in her stomach disappeared. She felt full, comfortable, peaceful. At first, she thought it was a coincidence. Then, it happened again and again. Whenever Wunmi ate food she had paid for herself, she could eat an entire plate and still feel empty. But one spoon of food that she begged for could satisfy her completely. It became her darkest secret. And as she grew older, she became better at hiding it until she met Prince Wale. Wale was the youngest son of a wealthy royal family. He was handsome, educated, calm, and extremely wealthy. Unlike the men Wunmi usually chased, Wale didn't need to prove his wealth. His name did it for him. When he proposed, Wunmi didn't hesitate. Yes! Their wedding was grand. Cameras flashed, guests danced, gold jewelries glittered under the lights. And Wunmi smiled throughout the entire ceremony, like a woman who had finally won the lottery. That night, she entered her new husband's mansion. She looked around the enormous bedroom, the king-sized bed, the crystal chandelier, the massive wardrobe, the balcony overlooking the estate. She smiled. This is the life. Wale laughed. You're happy? Happy? She wrapped her arms around him. I am finally leaving. Dinner was served at 8. The chef prepared several dishes. Jollof rice, grilled chicken, fried plantain, vegetable soup, pepper soup. Wunmi ate until her stomach was painfully full. Wale smiled. You haven't eaten all day? I was too nervous about the wedding. He kissed her forehead. Now you're my wife. You can relax. And Wunmi smiled. Yes, darling. Later that night, Wale fell asleep. Almost immediately, but Wunmi, she remained awake. She stared at the ceiling. Her stomach felt strangely empty. She turned to Wale. He was sleeping peacefully. She closed her eyes and tried to ignore it. 10 minutes passed, then 20, then 30. The hunger became unbearable. Wunmi sat up. No, she pressed a hand against her stomach. I just ate. She walked into the bathroom and drank water. Nothing changed. She returned to bed, still hungry. She ate some chocolates from the bedside drawer, still hungry. She ate biscuits, still hungry. She whispered angrily, "What is wrong with me?" Then she remembered. One spoon, that's all she needed. One spoon of food that someone gave her after she begged. Stepped towards the bedroom door. Should she go and beg the servants? No. She was now living in a mansion with servants, chefs, and more food than she could possibly eat. Yet she desperately needed to beg. She shook her head. No, I'm not doing this, but the hunger grew worse. Finally, she got out of bed. She changed from her silk night dress into a simple outfit and covered her hair. Then she quietly slipped out of the mansion. Outside, the compound was silent. Wunmi walked through the streets until she reached a small roadside food store. The woman selling food was already preparing to close. Wunmi lowered her voice. "Auntie," the woman looked up. "Yes?" "Please," Wunmi swallowed hard. "Can you give me one spoon of rice?" The woman stared at her. "Rice?" "Yes." "You want to buy?" Wunmi shook her head. "Please, give me." She scooped a spoonful into a small plastic container. "Take." Wunmi ate it. Immediately, the hunger disappeared. Her shoulders relaxed. She closed her eyes. For the first time that night, she felt peaceful. She returned home before dawn. Wale was still asleep. And somehow, Wunmi convinced herself that she could keep doing it without anyone finding out. But secrets rarely stay quiet in a house full of people. A few nights later, one of the maids saw Wunmi sneaking towards the gate. "Madam?" Wunmi froze. She slowly turned. "Yes," the maid stared at her. "Where are you going?" Wunmi forced a smile. "Outside." "At this time?" "Yes." The maid looked at the clock. It was 1:07 a.m. "Madam, outside for what?" Wunmi lifted her chin. "Fresh air." The maid blinked. "Fresh air?" "Yes." "At 1 a.m. Wunmi smiled. "Fresh air doesn't have office hours." The maid didn't laugh. Neither did Wunmi. She simply walked away. But from that night, the maid became suspicious. And Wale eventually noticed something too. His wife would disappear at strange hours. Sometimes she returned just before dawn. Whenever he asked where she had been, she always had an answer. "I couldn't sleep. I went for a walk. I needed some hair." But Wale knew something was wrong. One night, Wale decided he could no longer ignore his wife's strange behavior. He lay beside Wunmi with his eyes closed, pretending to be asleep. He heard her move, slowly, carefully. Why are you always on this channel so slowly and carefully not liking, eh? Please like this video, comment if you have gotten to this point, and subscribe. It really helps this channel. Now back to the story. The mattress shifted as she sat up. Wale kept his breathing steady. Wunmi looked at him. "Wale?" No response. She leaned closer. He didn't move. Satisfied that he was asleep, she quietly got out of bed. Wale opened his eyes. He watched her walk towards the wardrobe. She changed out of her silk night dress and into a simple gown. She covered her hair with a scarf and slipped on a pair of flat slippers. Then, she quietly opened the bedroom door. Wale waited for a few seconds before getting out of bed. He followed her. The mansion was completely silent. The corridors were dark except for the faint yellow glow of the security lights. Wunmi walked quickly through the compound and slipped through the gates. Wale followed from a distance. His heart was pounding. For weeks, he has been asking himself the same question. Where does my wife go to every night? At first, he thought she was meeting another man. The thought had tortured him. His beautiful wife disappeared at midnight, returning before dawn. There had to be a reason. As he followed her through the quiet streets, his suspicion grew stronger. Wunmi eventually stopped. Wale quickly hid behind a parked vehicle. He peeked around it, his eyes widened. There was no man waiting for her, no lover, no secret party, no luxurious car. Instead, Wunmi was standing beside a small roadside food store. An elderly woman sat behind a steaming pot of rice. Wunmi looked around nervously before approaching her. "Auntie," the woman looked up. "Madam, you are here again?" Wunmi lowered her head. "Yes." "What do you want tonight?" Wunmi swallowed. "Please," her voice trembled. "Give me some food," the woman sighed. "You have money? Why are you always begging me?" Wunmi's eyes filled with tears. "Please, auntie." She clasped her hands together, even if it's just one spoon. Behind the parked vehicle, Wale stared at her in disbelief. his beautiful wife, the woman who wore designer clothes and carried expensive handbags, the woman who lived in a mansion, the woman who always said she would rather cry in a private jet than laugh in a keke, was standing on the roadside at 1 in the morning, begging for one spoon of rice. Wale slowly stepped out from behind the vehicle. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Wunmi? Thank you so much for watching to this point, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this story as much as I enjoyed making it. Please like, subscribe if you haven't already, and check out other videos on the channel. I'm sure you'll find something you like. And as always, I'll see you in my next video. Bye!